GM, everyone. Welcome to Weekly Outlook Live. John was asking a question there. How do you get the aggregated charts? I just saw that in trading chat. So if you guys look in my journal, type in aggregate, you'll see here how to do it, how to combine them. There you go. Instructions on how to do it here. So I will send that over to John. And anyone else who needs it can see it there. All right. GM. Stallion. I was doing a lesson in mindset and realized I'm autistic. Well, autism is a superpower if harnessed correctly. All right, everyone. G fucking M. When brown belt? Very, very soon. Putting final touches on it. All right. You're about to swap your USDT into a car. Just do it, Dev. Congratulations. Making it real. Make sure you let us know when you do that. That's a big crypto win. Big trading win. Felfia. Oh, you've sent me a message, have you? It must have gone off my notifications. I need to catch up on it. I'm in the middle of traveling. So, traveling back to my usual base, but I stopped over for a couple of days to see some friends. So, that's why I'm on no microphone. So the sound might be slightly different. It should still be all right, but I'm traveling at the minute. Thermonics. I have shingles disease plus tensions in the back and I'm sick. I can only lay most of the day. I'm doing the daily things plus live. What else can I do? Any tips to be more productive? Wow, that sounds rough. So hopefully, first of all, get well soon, bro. I'm not sure what you have to do for that or how it heals itself, or is it just a case of resting? In terms of if you can only lay most of the day, I mean, I guess in theory that doesn't change anything for you with this work, right? It can all be done just on a computer and you don't need to be moving. So at least there's something you can do that's productive. As you're going through white belt, focus on white belt. So each day, just do the white belt lessons. And if you got your system approved yet, you have. Continue with your back testing. So you said you're doing the daily things plus live. I don't know what that means specifically, but at this stage you should be focusing on your back testing and getting your 4 weeks of gold crushers to get through to blue belt. Tom, the foot is excellent. Dasher, I am not traveling with Warren G's, no. Unknown G has 1 trillion packets of snooze. GM. Should I call my physio practice GM Physio? Definitely. Azel, are you buying Bitcoin yet? I'll talk about that on Weekly Outlook. The same for Italian Leo. 1,000 power for Ethan, fucking GM. Let's go, Dev. Are you participating in the Gumball 3000? No, I'm not. Vlad. Aladdin, GM. Good gym meme. All right. If you're new, GM, welcome. If this is your first stream, every day I stream live. Do different streams, different days. So today's is Weekly Outlook Live, looking at the week we just had and ahead of the week to come. Should be a good one because the market seems to be heating up a bit. And I'm going to deep dive into all of that. Let's see where we go from here. And of course, we have a massive event this week. The Fed are going to cut rates Wednesday, 18th. So that's definitely going to be a key feature of today's stream. All right, let's fucking go. Now, what do I need to do? Okay. Just this off a sec. So I can start recording. GM. Today is Sunday, 15th of September. This is Weekly Outlook. So, let's go as we always do, out to the weekly chart and have a look at what's been happening. Last week, we had our confirmed bearish bands crossover. So, with last week's close, the bands officially turned red. We also had a weekly break of structure, BOS, where we had a lower weekly close, which then you would use and say, if that bearish market structure is going to hold. Now, it was only just a slight lower low, but a lower low is a lower low nonetheless. However, there are plenty of reasons to believe why this could also be a consolidation that ends up being bullish. It's all probabilities. So, in a simple sense, a weekly close above 64.2 would then invalidate that last bearish move. So if we close a weekly above there, it would invalidate that. It obviously would also flip the bands back to green. The 50-week EMA, which is the purple line, seems to still be providing some trend support for BTC at this point. That's pretty good. We've seen instances of this in the past. Now, back in 2021, the downtrend and sort of almost crash into the 50-week, and then the subsequent weakness that then led to lower lows, was certainly much more pronounced. This has been more of a consolidation rather than any sort of crash. We obviously had the long deep wick back on the start of August, but the market has moved pretty orderly throughout this. All coins, of course, have gotten crushed, mostly across the board, but Bitcoin still seems to be in a good spot. So lots of talk about when am I going to buy back my spot bags. Pretty close to doing it. I'll probably do it tonight or in the morning. I'm just waiting for, if we pump into the close, we'll probably see the bands cross green on the close. If we stay where we are, obviously they won't turn green. My rule is green bands for that, but it doesn't mean I wouldn't also take a trade, right? That's just for my spot holdings, and it's based on three things. The first thing is the bands, right? The daily bands. Second thing is this reclaim of the 50-day EMA. And the third, and most important for me, so I really should have said it first, but you get the idea, is that we are back inside the value area from all of this consolidation that we've seen since the top. So for the past 6 months, Bitcoin has been in I would call it a downwards sloping consolidation. Which you can see, if you draw like a parallel channel almost, you can sort of visualize this better. That's more what we've been doing, right? It's actually more just being in a downward sloping consolidation rather than, people call it a downtrend. I guess technically, yes. Could be an early stage, bigger, like a macro downtrend. But consolidations can move down. They can also move up, right? We've seen this many, many times. They don't have to move perfectly sideways. In fact, they often don't. I mean, many, many, many times they don't at all. So, combining all of that, we have, at least I have enough to get back into BTC with the understanding that if that's correct, we will not go below this level, right? So that would say the bottom should be in at that point. Can we drop back somewhere in here at some point? Sure, that is possible, but and I'm not saying it can't drop lower. Sure can. I'm also not saying it can't be just outright bearish. It definitely can. If I get long before the FOMC on Wednesday, which is when the rate cut's happening, I'll definitely have one eye on that from a trading perspective, because I do think that there can be a sell-off after FOMC. It depends. It really does depend on where we're at on Wednesday. So my view for a long time has been that we would have inflection points around these Fed meetings. There was a an old chart that I had. I don't know if I've deleted it or if it's still here. Yeah, here we go. This was an old chart I'd drawn out ages ago. It was actually over here, so it was in June when I originally drew out the path. And the path was based on us moving down to take out those lows, then rallying into the July FOMC, which we did. July FOMC was here. And then dumping after the July FOMC, which we did. And then consolidating around the September FOMC, where we would bottom out and go higher. So it actually seems to be following that path pretty well. And that was based on several factors. Number one being we had a retest area, which I can just enlarge this. The entire ETF rally had a point of control around that 50 to 53k area, which we've now tested twice, as you can see. See it over here, right? We tested it once and that dipped down, second retest over there. And the reasoning for the timing was that strong rally going into the FOMC was driven by Trump, certainly. It was kind of a Trump rally, plus an expectation that there might be rate cuts in July. There was many people saying we need to have rate cuts in July. There has to be a rate cut in July. They'd be stupid not to cut. And so when they didn't cut, the economic data also worsened around then. So at that time, we got the bad employment data. We got the Japanese yen carry trade and all of that. And that allowed for what I think, if we are actually bullish again, that is the last deleveraging shakeout before eventually the market just grinds its way to new highs, which is something like this or whatever these squiggly paths are. We're very, very quick to say here, just because the path has played out so far does not mean it will continue to, but it's certainly something that was on my mind many months ago and still is, and is something that I have an expectation. Where's the... which chart was I looking at? Should be this one. I thought I had the 50. The EMA is on. There we go. So all of that combined has me fairly confident that we can go higher, but with a caveat that this market does not have proper bullish confirmations until a weekly close above here, which would be across the point of control and around that level. That'd be that weekly invalidation that I mentioned about. We had a weekly high, then a weekly low. If we close back above there, that would invalidate that bearish sign. And of course, for any breakout, any continuation, any new bull market leg, 70k is the level to break. So the purpose of getting long before that is obviously because you don't want to be in a position where you're getting long too late. The idea of catching trends is that you're supposed to try and get into the trend relatively early. What you definitely shouldn't do is try and catch the bottom. That's stupid. That's just going to lead you to round tripping and getting stopped out over and over and over again as people try and just be a hero. So looking at it this way, if this ends up being a significant major rally, right, and goes higher and higher and higher, you'll look back and say, all right, okay, that was the bottom, right? Well, this was the bottom, that was the retest, and there we go. If it doesn't happen, which is why I think it's a decent place to get long around here pretty soon, although I do have slight concerns that sentiment seems to flip back to, we're so bullish again, like very quickly, and everyone seems to be just in complete consensus that Q4, so October, November, December, has to be green, and we're all definitely going to be bullish, and Bitcoin always does this is how it goes. Yeah, I'm like, I don't like that. I don't really see much disbelief. Considering the type of moves we've seen as well, like I see a lot of belief and a lot of hope and optimism, which after some of the moves we've seen and after some of the sell-offs and the bearish nature of the market, I would expect to have seen more pessimism. That's probably my main concern. But that won't stop me taking a trade, because I think that having done our biggest deleveraging since, let me verify this and double check. If you go to liquidations, this was the biggest deleveraging since August last year, yeah. Right, so that flush was the biggest we'd had since August, and that one was the biggest since, that was a huge one. That was the biggest since 2020, early 2022. So even through Luna collapse, through 3 hours collapse, through the FTX collapse, we saw nothing in terms of a single day move that matched this major flush of August 2023. Obviously, that marked the bottom. Right, so August 17th, we bottomed out with the liquidation event, and then we broke out about 2 months later, September, October. About 2 months later, we started to regain and build back up. This one was August the 5th, and we're getting on for about 6 weeks now. Since then, we've had our retest. I think it's more likely that we go towards these highs again, and that we probably, if that holds, we probably go back higher again sometime in October, if the market's going to be bullish. So, all of that being said, reclaiming the value area low at this point, I think we should go to test the point of control at least. There's also gaps and inefficiencies here. So there's a breakdown from the end of August, which we can go back up and retest. And at a stretch, we can go to the value area high. This can happen even if bearish. Even this could happen if bearish. And so then, that puts me in a position where I think probabilistically getting long here is pretty good. Because my assumption would be that if we go higher and then we come all the way back down and it flips bearish again, I'll be able to sell or close or cut at break even or at a slight loss if it was one of these, another false rally, and hopefully be able to flip short if the opportunity presents. And of course, if the market's bullish, up we go. Wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin. We also have the election as well on the 5th of November. So these are some of the bigger dates to watch in the diary. This is the US election. And of course, expectation is Trump winning would be good for crypto. And then we have this week, September 18th, which is the Fed first rate cut. So, between Wednesday and the election, there's no more debates. I think both sides have confirmed that Trump and Harris are not going to debate again. So outside of like breaking news stuff, which can always come, there's probably not a huge amount of macro overhangs between now and then. I think there's another Fed meeting right before the election, which I should add on. Next November 7th, so it's after. So then we have 2 days after the election, we actually have another Fed meeting, which won't be as impactful, obviously, given that the first rate cut is probably going to be the most important in terms of direction that we go in. What else we got this week? I'll just check in if we got anything else that matters. Before then, retail sales on Tuesday. Semi-important, quite interesting. But really, it all centers around the Fed meeting itself. Yeah. So this week's all about the Fed meeting. One of the things, again, another thing that has me slightly concerned is this general acceptance that rate cuts are bullish, which actually can lead to a temporary decline. So I'm hoping if I get long that we pump strong into that. And if there is a sell-off after it, that it just sells off back around to here or something. Like, so we do get an initial sell-off off the FOMC, but that's more of just